All right, I need some more light. I just realized that the best it can do. Let's see. No, that's fine. Skin is getting darker and darker and darker. Okay. Um, let's do this. So let me just move everything. Took a little time off. Been good. Always good to do that. And let's see. Okay, here we are. Let's run this in Placidus first. Ooh, wow. It goes from the 12th to 10th. Well, that's interesting. So we'll have to talk about the whole sign, the Placidus perspective. Let me hit the timer so I know how long I've been talking. Okay. Actually, hold on a sec. Let's go to DMs. Okay, we can share it now. Yeah, I like to hit record, or else I might procrastinate longer. So even if I'm not like ready to start right away, I just hit record. Just like hit record, pull it up. That way I'll start. It's just that first reading back, when you haven't done a reading for 6 days or a week, like a recorded reading like this. First one in Argentina, I think. Yeah, not first session, but okay. I'm just taking screenshots of our IG convo. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not about the future in this reading at all. That's a different reading, which is also something I should probably make a post about to clarify for people. Mm-mm. So yeah, with each reading, it's its own journey. And okay. have those all here. No pictures there. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, it's important for me to do these when I'm in the mood. No, it's not even about mood. It's literally like it's bigger than that. There's no way I could have done one during that full moon period, and I'm in Argentina on my Saturn IC, so that's been a crazy adjustment from the Jupiter midheaven. That's astrocartography. If you know about it, it's something that I'm very big on. It's another reading I offer where it's the geography, it's astrology, it's an astrological technique that mixes geography, different places in the world, with your birth chart. And you can see where your hot spots are, where your cold spots are, good for romance, good for work, good for different times in your life. So I'm starting to really, I mean, I've always been the kind of astrologer where it's not about money. Of course, it's good to get rewarded, but um, I'm more like one of my rules is like you gotta get a birth chart done by me first. Like I have a lot of other readings I do, but yeah, so you have the birth chart done, so that's one of the ones I offer. But anyways, so this is all this never changes. So you can watch this in 5 years, you can watch this in 3 years, you can watch this in 20 years, in 10 years, whatever. It doesn't matter. And you're born 95, so you're a youngy youngin. Um, so it's always interesting because your Saturn's probably in Aries, right? Pisces is what I meant to say when I say Aries. Yeah, so your return is like about to happen. I mean, one could say it's happening now with Saturn and Pisces, only a few not so far away, but yeah. So yeah, it's always interesting, like when you pass your Saturn return, if you get a reading before, how differently it resonates. So I have it hold up in Placidus now. But first things first, it is something very obvious. Sun and Moon in Scorpio. Um, it means you were born on a new moon. So there's a lot of new karma for you in this lifetime. From a karmic perspective, you could look at it as a lot of new beginnings. Um, to have your sun and moon in the same sign is a clear indication that the energy of that sign, the highest manifestation. In astrology, you have the lowest, like every energy, think of it on a scale of 0 to 100, and then your free will decides if you're going to manifest the low vibe of that sign, the medium vibe, the high vibe, and everything in between. And you'll probably at different times in your life express different manifestations of it, different levels of manifestation. So it's a concentrated energy. Um, Now, what's very interesting is that it falls because you are a Sag rising. It makes in whole sign Scorpio your 12th house. But um, in Placidus, it all falls in your 10th house. So it's very, very rare that something shifts to, or not very, very, but it's quite rare. So that's going to give a different analysis, right? We can look at both. I mean, I like to look at both because they both have different information that they can give. But in essence, and I always can sort of feel into what makes more sense. But there's not so many aspects in your chart. Let me just check any quincunxes because they don't show them here. No, no. Yeah, because you have most of your planets in one area. A lot of famous people have charts that look like yours. Um, Everything's kind of like in that zone, right? So, um, yeah. So, anyways, basically, Sun and Moon in the same sign of the sign of Scorpio. Obviously, we know a lot about, you know a lot about your sun sign already. And I could sit here and list off all the traits of Scorpio, but I'm not going to do that. I assume people have, you know, studied up on their sun sign. But what I will say certain things when convenient. Um, but from a karmic perspective, let me get my rocks. I like to have like rocks. I only have these two that my friend gave me in Colombia. They're very small, but they represent the two different stars I have in my chart. But anyways, um, yeah. So basically, the fact that it falls in Scorpio, it definitely with Scorpio moon, and like I said, its only aspect is the sun, gives this real, I mean, yeah, it does have a semi-sextile with Chiron, but okay. So it gives this real depth to the individual. Sometimes mainly for males, I feel bad for a lot of males with Scorpio moons because it's like such an intense energy that they just don't know what to do with it, right? Um, when we talk about emotions, right, and the ability to meet our emotional needs and how we feel things, and our moon sign is really, how we feel secure. Like what do we need? What do I need to feel happy? What do I need to feel secure? That's why it's so important. So a Scorpio moon, uh, first of all, is very, very private person. Um, they don't do very well when, whether it's in a relationship, their work, just in general, they don't like people knowing their shit. Scorpio is also very, very in tuned with the darkness of the world, right? Um, that doesn't make them dark, bad people, but they're not people you can bullshit, right? Um, a lot of times, double Scorpios. Now, it is Sun and Moon together. Oftentimes, is a good totem for indication for the parents' marriage, but not always the case. Um, I see it as this with South Node in Aries, North Node in Libra conjunct all the Scorpio. It's interesting. And then squaring Neptune and Uranus. Interesting, interesting. I feel like you have been very dominant in past lives on the physical level. Um, and in this life, there's a big emphasis on deepening on that psychological emotional level. Now, what's interesting is a lot of times people with water signs, yeah, like they have trouble. It's water is Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, and it's known those three energies are very sensitive. They like different like they can be really affected by energies um and people's moods and just very empathetic. But then sometimes it feels like it's just difficult um for some of them to tap in. And, you know, there is the absence of a lot of the difficult aspects that would usually accompany that. So I don't necessarily feel like that is the case for you. It could be, but regardless of your ability to feel emotions and your ability and willingness to go that route, you have that healer's energy, right? sometimes the Scorpio depth and the ascendant is in Sag with Jupiter, which is very nice touch, right? Because your ascendant is more visible by people. It's like the mask you wear. So when you have the most jovial zodiac sign as your mask with the most jovial and expansive planet, it's actually quite an interesting combination because it sort of it sort of hides it like if you had a Scorpio rising as well, you might be the kind of person that is very unapproachable. Not because of anything that you've done, just because people are just scared of you, right? But with the Sag Jupiter rising, you just become this very, especially Jupiter in Sagittarius is such a strong placement, right? You're just this very curious person. So, you're really like born to be a researcher. I don't mean that as in working in a school. I mean that just in general. Like you like to probe deep into the meaning of things, the esoteric meaning, um, the spiritual, emotional underpinning, which is Scorpio, and also the more physical one, right? Which involves travel, physical, different cultures, right? And philosophical, people with different views and bringing them together. So those two are very powerful to have together. It's like the person who can go within themselves and do the shadow work, Pisces, or excuse me, Scorpio, but then also not, it's this good mix of internal growth and external growth. Um, so back to what I was saying karmically, there's a reason when, especially when you have your sun and moon together, just gonna go grab some hot water for my tea. There is always a reason, right? I mean, you just have to think about it. It's just logical. It's like this person wouldn't be sun, like I always think, especially with water signs, that there's a lot of karma there around emotions, right? Around energy, around, like especially with the South Node in the sign of the warrior Aries, it's it wouldn't surprise me, square Uranus, square Neptune, right? That there are some skipped karmic steps around those two archetypes. So individuation and spirituality. So somewhere along your karmic ride, in different incarnations, you have lost your spiritual way, right? And it makes complete sense that you would incarnate as a double of the most, I'm not going to say the most spiritual sign, but come on, it's Scorpio. It's the sign of the sorceress, right? It's the priestess, it's the witch, right? So the alchemist. So it's like a Scorpio can tap into different like, I don't want to say words that are cheesy and repetitive, like dimensions, even though it is a thing, but they can tap into different experiences happening. And they have this, because your moon is there, you have this innate interest in this realm of experience, right? And understanding it. So, you're always going to be with that combination, someone who, especially with Venus, which is what you value among many things, in Scorpio, you're going to be someone who really, really values truth and no bullshit. So like, I don't really see I mean, you do have Libra Mercury, so you have the ability to do the small talk and whatnot, um, which is good. Like it's good for sure to be able to do that. However, I don't think you like it. In fact, I mean, like even with your Mars and Sag, Jupiter and Sag, and all the Scorpio energy, those are the two primary signs in your chart. Those two signs like, depth of ideas, depth of emotions. Scorpio likes to grow. It's here to grow, to transform itself. So when you're someone who is trying a high vibe Scorpio moon is someone who isn't mad at the world for, sometimes they had to go through some type of trauma like early on, whether it was like around birth or um who knows, right? Early childhood stuff, but there's no hard aspects to the moon, so who knows? Maybe not, but the moon does fall in the 12th house, but in whole sign with the sun. So, from that perspective, that is, a mom and dad that were not present, if you look at the whole sign perspective, right? But um, from the Placidus perspective, it's more so someone in 10th house who's very devoted to their dharma. And, with Mercury right on the midheaven too, that's someone that can have two different careers, can have a lot of mutability in their career, in their dharma, in what they're doing. And with Chiron right very close to it as well, that could be someone who is meant to be a healer in some type of way. That's a big, big word. Um, and I think that artists can be healers. I think that people who work everyday jobs, I don't really like link it as much to your job, although midheaven is how we're seen by the masses. So Mercury and Libra, Mercury, Libra, Chiron, it's it gives this Venusian energy, which is attractive energy to people that don't know you, but also you're seen in a way that's in line with the archetype of the healer, but also the archetype of the writer, the archetype of the speaker, the archetype of the very the person that's very mobile, right? That can have their job that pays them their salary, and then their passion, and eventually to have the passion turn into the one that pays them the money, right? So back to what I was saying. Um, I think that it's a it's definitely a blessing to have that Mercury, and it's nicely asked. I mean, like I said, there's very few aspects in your chart. There's only one difficult one, which is very, very little. Um, so yeah, I mean, and yeah, so karmically, I mean that just gives a lot of wiggle room. Like you see your chart, the shape of it. There's not much blocking, right? This we don't even look at this. This shouldn't be there. This isn't really blocking anything. 18, yeah. So it's like there's nothing like this is the South Node, it's not a planet. This is Black Moon, it's not a planet. This is not a planet. So really, from like every single thing besides Saturn, which is here, everything is from here to here, right? Um, between Libra and Capricorn. And there's just, there's nothing on this side of the chart. So, those houses and those signs, it just brings up just also community being very, very important to you. And when we talk about Scorpios with community, the mantra is often, especially for a Scorpio moon, they want to be able to say whatever they need to say, right? Like they don't want to have to repress their darkness, or their, like if they don't want to have to, like I said, they're secret, they're private, secretive. Um, but it's because like they have that experience of understanding in whatever way what people are capable of on a low level, which is very, very good, because if you're naive to that, what good is that? It's horrible. So the lowest energy of Scorpio is someone who uses their psychological powers that Scorpios naturally have and develop throughout their life, because not only are they gifted in those areas, but they're interested in those areas. So if you're gifted in something and you're interested in it, what the fuck happens? You probably become very, very naturally, you know you probably deepen your knowledge, especially with all Sagittarius, right? Mars and Sag. Mars is the energy, it's your it's what you go towards, right? So you go towards Sagittarius energy, you go towards traveling, you go towards knowledge, towards truth, real high level truth. And it's with Pluto, so that just gives you like this real intensity, right? Um, so yeah, like the main aspects in your chart are conjunction. So they're the fusions of energy. We'll talk about Mars Pluto a bit later. Um, but yeah, it's an intense one, 29 degrees Scorpio. And more on that kind of karmic level of like new beginnings, right? Is 0 degrees Sun, right? So it's kind of like the Fool card in tarot, where there's just like a lot of trial and error and new experiences, and you learn from experiences. It's not you're not here to learn from a book. You're here to learn from doing things. And that's why I like that you have this fire ascendant, because fire ascendants just do things. It can be very spontaneous in Sagittarius. So I like that, because what can happen sometimes with Scorpio is that they can get a little bit too serious sometimes, right? I'm not saying you, I'm just saying the energy in general. So yeah, it's very, very good that you have that, right? Now I would say too, yeah, I would say that like I was saying before, like that, yeah. So like it definitely will save you in the sense of like people make you a lot more approachable, and kind of this emanating this very warm energy. And yeah, like I said, Scorpios can overthink things, and they can be too serious and too analytical. And Sag energy is just like, let's go, let's go. I actually can think of several people, my dad, water sign sons, Sag ascendants, who are very, very Sag. And you have three planets, or three planetary points, four including the part of fortune, in Sag. So it's like, you have that energy very, abundantly. Now, yeah, so I would say that yes, there is that. Did I just screw up my volume? 1 second. I just got these headphones recently. So, okay, it's working. Actually, I'm going to turn it off this mode for a little bit. But yeah, so basically, okay. Yeah, so basically Scorpio moon energy, it really, really likes to um what's the word? It really likes to, like, when it comes to relationships, it likes that feeling of merging, right? Um Now this can be a bit intense for some. And Venus and Scorpio as well, right? It's like sort of like soulmate type energy, if you want to call it that. So I know it sounds a little bit weird, but what I'm trying to say is that the style in which a scorpionic person is in love is typically very, it's very romantic. Or is romantic the right word? I guess it's built on, I mean, it's intense, it's Plutonian. So it's like they have to watch out for the low vibe potential of Scorpio, which is like unconsciously chasing drama for excitement to make them feel alive. Using, like I was saying before, or I was starting to say before, their psychological powers to manipulate and control people, right? Which usually comes from a fear of abandonment, something, or fear of powerlessness, something along those lines. And I do see Black Moon Lilith in Cancer, and I usually see that with people um who, like, it's almost like their shadow side that they have to overcome to use, yeah, to do that exact thing of using, whether it's using the heightened psychological um intelligence and awareness to get the best out of people, or I've seen it also as in people playing victim, but it's in the seventh house. So it's like that would make relationships a potentially a hectic area. And it could bring even jealousy from partners, which could then result in some of those, low vibe Scorpio um things coming to life. Um mhm. Let's see here. Now, the moon is so it's not it's in detriment in Scorpio. It's exalted in Taurus. And um the reason for that, I meant to say it's not in detriment, it's in fall. It's in detriment in Capricorn. But it's in fall in Scorpio because the emotions can be very, very tense rather than calm. Um, like nothing gets past the Scorpio moon person. They dissect, they analyze everything. And I love it, right? I love it in women because usually women in this day and age have done more inner work and they're more open to the idea of it. And when they have their early childhood relationships or friendships, they're more based on emotions, right? While like a man with the same one, or a boy with the same one, might not be able to do that, right? So yeah, some people like don't really understand. Like I've heard people like ask like, why is it in fall in Scorpio? It's a water sign, right? It should be fall in Aquarius, which I kind of agree with. But I think that the point is that it's just this turbulent emotional process that can be very obsessive and vengeful and um like so like even like I've seen a lot of Scorpio moons where there's like a theme of envy, right? And of course this is like a lot of this stuff happens younger in life. And it's all the thing is that it's meant to be like this because the person is meant to alchemize it. And it's like they're meant to allow this. So it's very important for a Scorpio moon. This might be a very important thing for you to hear as you head into your Saturn return. If there's anything you've done, which we've all been there, that gives you this feeling of shame, like a memory from high school or something that just whatever it is that happened. And whenever you think about it, you just get the shame. And in your head, you're like, that's not me anymore, like that's not the person I am. It's very important for you to know that all that was meant to happen, right? All that was meant to happen. And to release yourself from that shame. Because that like the whole thing with Pluto Scorpio is that it takes you to the underworld so that as a Scorpio moon, it's so obvious what it is that you need to that what it is that you need to that what it is that needs to die within you, within your even like your because of the analytical abilities. It's like you can be your own inner therapist, right? But it is good for Scorpions to get therapists of their own too. And like anything, any energy, it's a lot of polarities. It can go from very low to very, very high. I've seen it. So there's no such thing as good or bad in astrology. There's, difficult, which can be turned into extraordinary. And then there's easier, which, you know, most people I do readings for, and most people that are, I find very interesting and or healers have been through some crazy shit. It's just the way God made things. So, yeah, I would say it's just that intensity that not everyone can match. Um, And usually I would say that Scorpio moons, they experience themselves in they not all the time, but a lot of times they experience childhood as not so um grounding and not so like just there can be a lot of trauma from childhood that's not might not necessarily be like this thing that happened or that thing that happened, right? It can be micro traumas or just the energy that was around them. And when we see your Saturn, one, two, three, four, whole sign, I mean that can make sense too. Um, Aries I see ruled by Mars in the 12th. Yeah, I mean that could, speak to a childhood where there was some sort of, I guess, volcanic-ish or just very, very intense energy in the household. Um, and it goes the 12th. So with the Mars there could be a feeling of powerlessness that was felt. Um, Now with Pluto with your Mars, it's very important for you to work out. Um, if not work out, just to have some type of physical outlet, especially with a fire Mars, you'll have a huge, massive benefit when it comes to your psychological mind. Like I'm a Sag moon, right? So, um, when I work out, like I worked out today, it's not that I do it for the metaphor I give is like it's like if I'm a car, I'm a Ferrari, right? Like not me, just like this is the metaphor I give, right? So if you're a car, you're a Ferrari, and all you need is to get that Ferrari moving, get it in good motion, take it to the shop, and then it's gonna just drive itself. It's just gonna work itself out. It's gonna be amazing. Um, and that's kind of how I feel about the gym for Sag people because the mind and Scorpio, like Pluto, like just in general, like the mind of a Scorpio moon can be, or like not the mind, the emotions, can be very, very like here than there. And it's interesting. I'm doing this reading for you right as the moon entered Scorpio. I'm gonna message you and tell you I'm doing it now. Crazy the timing of things. I did not plan that. I swear to God, I didn't know I was gonna do one tonight. Let's see where you at. So you'll get this like right when you have your lunar return. I'm gonna tell you that. And the timing is always perfect. And I think that's something I'm typing to now, but that's something to remember as well, right? Because I think like as I was saying, like it's more for Virgo is like the stereotype to worry, but I've seen Scorpio being able to get quite negative too. Um, and Sag is the opposite, right? So that's really, 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 I don't like to say saving you because that would imply that you were screwed before that. But it's really giving you a nice balance of light and I don't want to say dark. Uh just this, yeah, I mean Scorpio energy is dark. Not dark. Dark isn't bad. It's just dark, you know? Um it's able to handle darkness. We it's not all love and light, that whole saying. So, like for example, as a healer, I think, and that's one reason Scorpio is so potent as a healer, is that because of what they've experienced, they're able to go into the darkness and not get so freaked out by things, like let's say that they're working with someone and or have a friend who tells them this fucked up story, they usually won't, be that thrown away. But as I was saying with working out, um, you're trying to liberate your mind in this lifetime. Like I said, your South Node is square Uranus and Neptune. So, past life trauma indicator right there that you were trying to be different, or like that your process of individuation, of you trying to like be your own self, not follow societal rules, was cut down and led to some trauma, which, might make it difficult for you in this life to, and especially with Sun square your Uranus, which is your main aspect, following rules is not something that maybe you're really meant to do. I mean, that because that makes it a karmic aspect because it's Sun conjunct North Node, right? So, yeah, it's interesting. It's a karmic aspect of Sun square Uranus. So the only thing to watch out for that one is like, and that also like with Sun square Uranus, that makes working out and having some level of balance super important. And you have no Earth in your chart, right? You have no Virgo, no Taurus, no Cap, right? In terms of like inner planets. And you also have no, oh yeah, you have one planet in air, which is Libra, Mercury, which is not the strongest. Mercury is not the strong, but yeah, you do have one in air. So when you lack Earth, like I do, you really need to find a routine that works really good for you. And that feeds you spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, every elite. And I think if you look at it from whole sign, you're like, okay, this is a sixth house in Taurus and a seventh house in Gem. Um, so I think, giving your physical body what it needs is very important. I think it's important for you to feel very grounded and very, very confident in your physical body. Um, so Venus or Merc, it could make hmm, it could make sex important. With Venus ruling and Scorpio, the sixth. But I would say more than sex, like not sex as in like the everyday kind, like the deep kind, but like, you know, not everyone has sex. Not, it's if you're in a relationship and you can't force those things. But more so than that, I would say that it's the process of having this depth that feeds your soul in your day-to-day life, which is really linked to spirituality. And then also this kind of inquisitiveness, right? Whether it's journaling, speaking, just this curiosity in your everyday life that and I saw you said you're a writer. Like that's something that maybe you need to be doing every day, right? And even actually come to think of it, the sixth house cusp in Placis is Taurus, right? So that's the Venus energy. So yeah. Um, anyways, so yeah, so I think that's a big, big thing for you. Like I said, for me, working out is not about looks. I mean, I like looking good, Um, but I think when I go into workout, like there's next to 0% that's about looks. It's about draining my body of toxins, but mainly it's the thought that I know that after I run, or work, or lift, which I've been doing a little bit more of, not much, but a little bit. One day I'm gonna be like, oh, probably not. I know that after that hour or so, that my brain will feel better. But most of all, that my Sagittarius creativity, Pisces creativity will flow out effortlessly, right? And that's like Scorpio for you. It's like Pisces, similar, both water and Sag. So, and then like more so for you, like Mars and Pluto together can be volcanic, right? It's a very, very like intense aspect or conjunction. So you have this excess energy, and this can be used for all types of creative pursuits, right? It's like when you have something that you have this intellectual, philosophical, just this connection with, that's linked, that what you're doing is linked to your highest truth. Think of Pluto as like this extra ball of energy you hold in your pocket, and whenever you get tired, you can just take it. It's like Lance Armstrong, like like but natural. It's just this intensity and this real endurance. And but sometimes people with that conjunction are too much, like their energy is too high. And when they have no earth in their chart, like you do, to ground themselves, it can be very hard to wake up, especially with Moon and Scorpio, which, like I said, it makes the emotions, it can make them very, very up and down. And I also said it's not badly aspected. Thank God. I know people who have Moon and Scorpio opposite Pluto, square Saturn, like square Neptune, like crazy stuff, opposite Uranus, all that. So you don't have any of that. Yeah. So basically, it's just important to understand that regardless, you know, it's good for a Scorpio moon to, with Sagittarius, to be able to like have that larger perspective, that Sagittarian perspective. Because Scorpio moon can really, they can like when they're at a lower vibe, Scorpio just in general can get very caught up in like the bullshit, the day-to-day bullshit, Oh, someone like let's say like someone rubs them the wrong way, right? So it is a badass lunar sign, regardless, right? And it does create that capability and that passion, and also that real, like, kind of, like I said, like very reserved, mysterious person, an intense person. But yeah, it's like, and also one thing I love about Scorpio moons is they're very good with boundaries typically, right? Um, but when it comes to emotions, resentments. So Scorpio moons can have a lot of time, a lot of trouble moving on from things, right? Like, which is not a bad thing, right? They remember everything, and I'm like that too. Fuck it. Like, I don't hold resentments in my heart. I hold the love even for people that have wronged me, but I don't forget. It's like once someone's done something like that, it's very hard for me to resume the friendship naturally, if it's depending on how it was done, right? Um, and that's usually how it is for Scorpio moons. But like, what are you gonna do about it? That's just kind of how it is, right? The key is to be able to tune it with any water moon, is to be able to tune into your intuition. So yeah. And learning how to handle your emotions in the right way. And sometimes Scorpio, it can make people very prone to depression and dark moods and more cynical ways of thinking and seeing the world. And that's usually because of like their early experiences, right? Um, and yeah, it's like root chakra. It's like yeah, like I said before, like not feeling like they had that strong basis, that strong basis of security and support early on. So, but it is very, very resilient. So it's interesting how Capricorn, the detriment and fall moon signs are super resilient, and because they have to go through shit. And a lot of times they build these coping mechanisms early on in life and have to overcome a lot of tough challenges on that deeper level. But sometimes it's difficult. They can repress some of that. It's difficult to bring that back, right? Um, so they always say you can't ever kill a Scorpio, right? It's like they always come back. They always come back stronger. And what is it? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So, it's a survivor, this individual, right? The Scorpion individual. Um, so I think like as the Scorpio moon grows or gets older, they be like this, like I said, they become more powerful. And then it's like the evolved version uses that power to better their life and the life of people around them. While the other Scorpio who hasn't healed can just use that same power to cause a lot of trouble, right? So that's like why it can really go different ways. Um, they can be very destructive or just like the opposite, right? Very, very supportive people who understand the struggles that people go through and are super, because it's a fixed sign, they're able to really have they can actually have like a lot of determination. They're super determined, right? As a double Scorpio. Like they like that's one sign that won't, like, when their emotions are with something, especially if it's like the underdog, like they will not give up, right? They have usually very deep souls and deep hearts, but they can be very misunderstood because of sort of that energy that it puts out, which is why it's so beautiful. You have the Sag, because that matches more of your soul in that sense, right? As a South Node in Aries. Um, so yeah, I think that like there's a lot of charisma with double Scorpio and magnetism. Um, People feel that presence, and that's why people are pretty like, it's like love them or hate them a lot of times. Not always. I think the Sag can bring a lot of popularity for sure. Jupiter rising is one of the best placements in astrology for just a popularity and being liked. Um, but yeah, I like that the boundaries, the part about boundaries, it's like people know not to fuck with a Scorpio, right? And also, Scorpios have very good memories. So, like I said, like even if you forgive, you don't forget. And um, I would say in relationships too, sometimes it can be very hard for Scorpio, even Taurus Scorpio placements to let go. Um, that's something that I've seen a lot. So that's just something to think about. But yeah, like all in all, it's just like that they just experiencing emotions so intensely, and it can be so back and forth. Um, and sometimes they can prefer to just suffer in silence and not like tell people about their emotions, right? So it goes back to that routine and that lifestyle of like, okay, how can I have my life match me in the way I am, right? With my karmic goals, because North Node in Libra with the sun is sort of a double whammy here, where it's like in this lifetime you're meant to learn diplomacy and learn how to work with other people well towards a common goal, but also that there's a certain level of relationship karma where maybe in past lives you were more focused on your personal goals and ambitions and what you want to do on your own, Aries, right? And now maybe it's a little bit more about community and just like being able to make um being able to have successful relationships where there's a good balance, where you're not, where there's a good balance of still keeping your independence within the relationship, but not falling into the hole of codependency, right? So yeah, super, super sensitive, and also to the moods of people around you. So like that's where you have to plug into your intuition. Because it's like you can very easily um take on someone else's energy without knowing it's yours or it's theirs, thinking it's yours. Even your parents or people you grew up with. You have Saturn third house too, which if you do have any siblings, I'd be curious to know if there's any energy, and definitely take notes. Or you got no follow up, so you should definitely add the follow up. I mean, like pretty much everyone does follow up in current astrology, or just follow up. Um, and that's like an hour session. If you add the follow up in current astrology, it's like around 3 hours. It's first hour follow up, which is just us talking about this reading, comparing your lived experience with what I said. So I like people to take notes, but even if they don't get that, I still love. I'm grateful when people send me. I'll read like long notes. I love it. Like I love to know what I like. That's how I learn, right? That's literally how I learn, is through people's experiences. Um, so yeah, anyways, as I was saying, tuning into your intuition, and kind of with your own unconscious, knowing what's yours, what's not yours, not allowing energy vampires in. Um, and a big thing with Scorpio is letting go of that need to control everything, and just like letting go in general, right? So Yeah, and that sort of goes back to like the low vibe, high vibe Scorpio, where it's like being so good at psychology that they can use that power to manipulate others. Um, yeah. So they can be like the most powerful people that just manipulate and that just like, rise in society because they have this level of self-control and fixed energy, you know, and they can really be very, very good at not revealing their true emotions. So very, very mysterious. But I think that in relationships, it's very, very important to open yourself up, right? And that's also with a black moon Lilith in Cancer, maybe a difficulty. Maybe it's like, if there was some relationships that caused you pain early in life, it's like it could be like the metaphor of the crab that crawls in the shell, Cancer crab that crawls in the shell and is afraid to trust again. So, yeah. But overall, as a Scorpio moon, you are here to transform. So life will like you'll feel at different parts in your life as if there was an actress playing you at different like chapters in your life where you changed so much that it doesn't even feel like you anymore. Um, so yeah. Yep, yep, yep. And I always tell double Scorpios like you guys are made to be therapists, but also going to therapy is so good for Scorpio, double Scorpios or triple, I guess, with Venus. But also there can be something with the family there, right? Where maybe you might be carrying something. This is more download central, but like maybe where you're carrying something for your family's karma, and it might feel very heavy. Um, and it's maybe like you're the one who's meant to break something down, some kind of. A lot of my clients are like that, so like usually when I say that, there's something that resonates there, right? Like intergenerational trauma. Um, but also like it could be like secrets, secrets in the family, stuff like that, things that are just never spoken about, right? So yeah, usually with the mom, especially if you look at it in whole sign, it's like a relationship full of struggles. Doesn't mean it was bad, but a lot of times it was more of an absent mother, or yeah, just issues in that sense. um but yeah, it's not an afflicted moon, so that's good. Um so yeah, I think it just gives like this like very like femme fatale aura, like very seductive. A lot of times I've seen Scorpio woman, moon woman, double Scorpio especially. And like now we talk about relationships, just like commitment, loyalty, like so important, right? Like you're not gonna be with someone like you need that, right? And it's like wanting only one partner, very monogamous. And yeah, I mean, yeah, Mars is in Sag, which could be a little bit mutable in that sense. Okay, but I still wouldn't see it like that. I mean, maybe there's like some openness to like that, but I doubt it. Um, it takes a lot of time for a Scorpio, double Scorpio, triple Scorpio to trust someone. So you have to really win over their trust, right? So I feel honored that you trust me to like honestly to do this reading for you. Um, because I know that your process of doing that was not just like, I mean, yeah, like it's true, like you could just have this tuned in intuition where you're like, okay, yes, this guy, right? Because that's very Sagittarian also to just like, yes, yes, yes. But it really means that you see whatever intuition, and like I can say, like I know I'm good at what I do, right? But like whatever intuition that you used when you like I'm asking you not for my ego because I don't care about that. I'm asking you because it's an obvious relatable example. What into feeling in your body, or what did you feel when you knew that told you like I need to get a reading from this guy? Like what was it, right? And ponder that, and then I want you to relate that to other areas of your life and see if it's like, and maybe this is something you're well aware of, right? But like it's for a lot of people like myself, it's like it differs day to day, but at its best, it's this feeling, right? Like in my body, like especially when I'm very embodied. Like I was out the other night and like this couple like walked by me. I could feel their good energy, even if it wasn't so evident in the way they were looking. Um, but like I felt this green energy, and I like psychically allowed them to like sit with me, and then they came. But like, um, yeah, like a lot of times it's like this click, or like this feeling in your gut. So it's about listening to that. But yeah, a lot of times it's like, yeah, like the Scorpio woman will test people and see if they're worthy of her attention. But then everyone knows about how loyal and protective Scorpio is, right? They don't like superficial bullshit relationships. Um, but then also having the Sag energy means that you like to have some fun, and maybe you might be attracted to someone from a different culture. Um, but you at the same time want depth, but also a travel buddy, right? Someone who you can speak about your big ideas with. And also like having all this, so like if we talk about the 10th house, it's like, yeah, it's like that big attachment to your career, to your dharma, to your mission, external life mission. Um, and but then like 12th house, it's like, that's very esoteric and deep, right? Where that could indicate more about that theme related to like the family and the kind of like the collective unconscious, and like this you is this big healer. Um, and with the square with Uranus, the karmic square, um yeah, I just think like maybe that could have something to do. I don't like to say the sun is the dad, the moon is the mom, but maybe if that is the case, that there just in general, it's just this theme of you wanting to rebel, and you wanting to take the road less traveled, but maybe you know like I always ask people with that, like people with sun square Uranus, like they often, like especially if they come from like a more traditional background, it's like they're the black sheep. But they usually have a very special they have a very special life purpose, and sometimes it takes a time. Sometimes it's not until 52 or their 40s, or not always, right? I'm not saying that, like a lot of times there's like lots of different phases they go through, just like you with the Scorpio, with the different phases of the death, rebirth, transformation that you go through before you get like it's just this it's always the journey, not the destination, right? So I'm not trying to imply that like, oh, you're only going to find true happiness with career or purpose until later in life, but it's like there a lot of times there is this very very special unique place for you in the world, and there's lots of different steps you take that get you there, right? But like it's not it's like, but those steps are also always part of it, right? So it's like there's no such thing as a destination. So I want to remove that conditioning. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say like there's being a 0 degree Scorpio sun, there's a lot of trial and error that can go into it as well, right? So that takes that makes it very necessary for that mutability of Scorpio to come into handy, where you can, or of Sagittarius, excuse me, to come into handy, where you can try lots of new things. Try this, okay. Let's say, okay, let's say you move to this city, right? um you love it, you have this big spiritual connection, you're in this country, whatever. You say, oh, I'm never going to leave here, right? Then a few years later, you go somewhere else and you fall in love with that place. You're like, am I supposed to be here? It's like, right? So it's like the mutability is like going, it's that knowledge of like, as a Scorpio, I'm evolving so much that I don't necessarily like, I don't know who I'm gonna be. That's why a lot of like maybe like commitment for Scorpios is something they can do, but I've also met eighth house people or Plutonian people with Sagittarius who have issues with commitment because um I can talk to them and myself, and and it's like the sentiment of like, I don't know who, like I changed so much, like I'm a like compared to who I was 5 years ago, it's like night and day. So how can I commit to something, right? um how can I commit to something when I know how capable I am to change, right? Like marriage, stuff like that. So it's not to say like, and that I feel like Scorpios differ a lot on that one. Okay, so with that square, there can be a lot of impulsivity, and sometimes it's like, um it's very good for leadership, but sometimes the question comes up, am I doing this rebellious thing just to sort of like take the road less traveled to shock people or to go like to be rebel for the sake of being rebellious, or because it's what my soul really wants me to do? Because Uranus is really meant, it's about individuation. Remember, that was blocked in a past life, or I don't know, in a past life that was blocked karmically, right? So your job is to really kind of navigate that and navigate that in a way where you're able to sort of balance this freedom and this desire to be different with stability, right? And not taking risks that are so just not even based on your growth and what you want to do, right? So a lot of times relationships can be kind of testy. Like I said, with the moon in Scorpio, it's really about finding the right person, especially Venus in Scorpio too. There can just be this real intensity, like I was saying before, that can scare away some people. And maybe those are the wrong people, but I think that Venus in Scorpio, um, you know, um, it is in its detriment there, right? So it just hmm. Mm. I guess in my experience, Venus is about manifestation. You know, it's like how you bring how you attract things towards you, or just anything towards you, right? So, you know, Scorpio does, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, Mars, right? So it's like um it it can be a little bit like too, I guess, assertive in that sense of like Venus being a planet that likes to like kind of love, beauty, compassion, art, all that. So yeah, I think like what I've seen with um Venus Scorps is sometimes they can be a little bit like I remember knowing one a while ago, and she was just so, yeah, she was just very, very, like, I thought her sun sign was a Scorpio, because the way she was showing up in love was very that way, right? um I don't even know how to describe it. It kind of goes back to everything I was saying about Scorpio, just like how like there's a high and the low manifestation. The high is like, that deep, intense passion relationship and the two souls merging. That's what satisfies me in Scorpio. But sometimes in getting there, there can just be lots of fears and lots of intensity and drama that comes up, right? Like while like Venus in Taurus or Libra, it's just like this free flowing love, right? In some respects. So there's like the potential for possessiveness, right? And jealousy and you know, yeah. So I think that's kind of more of it. It's like it's just like the passions are so high, but it's so loyal, and it's like when it's right, it's right. It's just that you need someone who can, especially with no earth in your chart, who can be like your solid rock, right? Um, but it also gives a lot of a lot of beauty, a lot of magnetism, as I said, and it can make it difficult to express feelings also. um it's kind of like all or nothing energy, right? So yeah. But once again, with Scorpio, it all goes back to just letting go, and just like understanding I am enough. I am enough. And if someone doesn't value me, it's their, like that's their miss, that's them fucking up. That's not, there's nothing I can really do about that. That's their mistake, right? You have to offer. Um, but also it can make you very, very intuitive when it comes to relationships too. Um, which is cool. And yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about most of the things like the high emotional intelligence, very, very careful who you trust, who you bring on, who you let in. And also Venus is ruling like joint, or like this is very good for joint ventures, like business wise. Um, so that's one thing. Um, and with partners, yeah, just like someone like I said before, you need someone who you can share the darker side of reality with, right? Also taboo, anything taboo will fascinate you, as I said. So like that could be like on a sexual level too. Um, so yeah. Um, I think Venus and Scorpio people tend to really value like knowledge, esoteric, deep knowledge, wisdom, more than like the physical realities. Like they really value learning, they really value themselves, right? They value themselves. So, but I've seen like people with Venus and Scorpio have a lot of self-worth issues. Um, so yeah, it's more energy of like in that department being able to kind of like be the phoenix that rises, right? Um, so let's see more about your love astrology. I guess like the word suffocating is a low vibe potential for your chart, right? Like you meet someone, you're very, very in love, or like you just think you like some people with this can come on way too strong, right? So that's important. Like giving the partner space, right? And having the Mars and Sag will help with that a lot, right? And I think like with Scorpios, when they get in relationships, that can be like the best time to work with like a therapist, or just like to really like journal and get internal, because you have so many clues that come up, right? Because it's just like so many clues come up about the internal. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, like there's nothing like like being with a Scorpio, it's like a different experience than anything else, being able to be with someone where for a fact that they're not going to cheat on you. For a fact that no matter who talked to them, tried to, nothing's happening. No chance, because that intelligence of being able to see through that the other person's BS, right? So that's something that you know, a lot of people find very attractive, and and really, really, especially in this messed up world. That's something that is very valuable today. And also, my girlfriend's Scorpio. Um, just the privacy, right? Like as a man, I don't want a girl. Actually, my Aquarius doesn't really mind. I mean, I've never been in that situation, but so okay, I don't know. I don't judge either way, right? Like I was just like trying to think, like imagine if I was dating someone who had like, you know, a million Instagram followers and was posting, you know, like thong bikini photos. I think I'm one of those weirdos. Who cares? But like, I don't know if that would bother me. I think I'm really good at tuning things out, but that's more my Aquarius side. But in general, men prefer that that woman who is private, who had, who's not sharing all of her stuff, who's kind of like yeah, more private about her life. That's like a very like valuable, like I think that that kind of creates like a very like, high value woman. But each their own, I don't think being the other way, that's a different conversation. But anyways, yeah, so what's like a very cliche? Yeah, like a cliche Scorpio Venus thing is like stalking their ex or never being able to let go of their ex, right? Um, so yeah, so it's just like in sex, like I said, it's so important. It's more than just physical, it's like spiritual type of sex usually. Um, Now also I think that what's really cool is that you have Venus trine Uranus. So this is a great placement because as a Venus in Scorpio, as I've just been talking about, like the trine with Uranus actually makes you a lot like way better than most Scorpio Venuses when it comes to um yeah, or no, it's trine Saturn. What am I saying? Yeah, it's trine Saturn. But that's a really good one too. And that's like one of the best aspects in astrology for long-term relationships. Now, with most people with now, not really Venus trine, but just Venus Saturn in general, a lot of times the best relationships come post Saturn return. So I don't know if you're in one right now, but like it's a trine. So it's just like very dependable, stable partner, you know? Um, and very good for business, very good for money too. Yeah, that's good for money and building very solid business partnerships. I see a lot of that in your chart, which is cool. And then like, yeah, like with the fact that the moon's in the 10th also in Placidus, it's like with the sun, it's like that's someone who's, with the North Node, whose mission is in the external world, who wants to create beauty. Maybe that's your writing, right? But that beauty is like matching their depth and it's giving them this new understanding of like the psyche and this new understanding of the world, of themselves, really, right? It's like, for example, like let's say it wasn't writing, let's say you were doing something like I'm doing. Like it's like by or like doing psychology. It's like by understanding your clients, you understand yourself better. So there is like a healing component to what you do. But yeah, a theme I see um in many places is just this healing energy, right? Now Mercury and Chiron together, you know, sometimes people with that, they especially with Saturn in the third house, or yeah. Um third house classes, like they could have grown up with like something with some speech issue, some communication issue, or something where they maybe thought something was wrong with their way of thinking or their intelligence, right? um Thinking they weren't as intelligent as their peers, whatever, right? So it's like this whole healing journey around finding, and it makes someone a very good and healing listener and someone who knows what to say at the right time to really help someone. So a lot of counselors, teachers, healers like have this Mercury with Chiron, right? Because it's like your words literally heal, but that's also great for a writer, right? Um, so people will naturally kind of come to you and feel that warmth that you have, right? And that compassion, that understanding that you have, which is amazing. Um, Yeah, and even Mercury sextile Jupiter. That's just like someone who enjoys learning from all different areas of life, who can, through their speaking, their writing, whatever, they can really expand a lot. They can it's a beneficial aspect between Mercury, the mind, communication, Jupiter, the planet of philosophy of education. So it's like through your adventures and through your your different movements and lessons, which always are increasing your level of truth. It's like the mantra of like, the more I know, the more I know less. You're able to grow and grow and grow and grow and then communicate that growth, which is cool. So back to kind of what I was saying about you know, the energy of Mars, Pluto. You have to watch out to not self-sabotage with those being in the 12th and classes because um that's a big possibility. And that's what like goes back to probably one of the keys of this whole chart. And it's something I'm so familiar with that you've come to the right guy. I could give you my whole like experience with this. When you lack earth, you think of someone who has like a lot of Taurus, a lot of Capricorn, Virgo, whatever. It's like day to day, their energy, they're very just like, it's not that much. But people like, without the earth, they can be like, it can be crazy, especially if they're like working a job that, you know, kind of requires this sort of consistency in terms of their personality and their energy. It's really tough. So yes, Scorpio's fixed water, so it's better than Pisces. um, right? But like it's very hard for someone with Pisces, and just like what you have to be doing something in their day-to-day life that doesn't give them meaning, right? It matters more than money in a sense. So I mean, it does. So especially with Jupiter in Sagittarius, that's like a very strong Jupiter. Um, and you're always and it's rising, so it's like a super powered Jupiter, right? And it's in its dignity sign, so it's in the best sign for Jupiter, Sagittarius, on the ascendant. So planets on angles are stronger, and it's the ruling fucking planet. So it's like such a strong Jupiter. So that's just like that mega expansiveness that you have, right? But like the Jupiterian, like I said, you're trying to undo the shackles of your past life of being held back from your spiritual journey. So like let's give a imaginary scenario. Let's say you were like a warrior in an army and you know you were told to believe certain things. Like like war, whatever it was, like like that kept you away from that relationship with God, right? And it's made your soul start to kind of like doubt that. Who knows what it was, right? And with Uranus, it's like about how your process of individuation was pushed back. So in this life, you're trying to get past that. So that's why you have all this expansive energy because you're not here to stay in one place. You're here to move around. You're here to, if that's not possible, you're here to, just like really try on different philosophies, try on different ways of seeing the world. Never just say, "Oh, this person doesn't know shit." And a lot of things you'll see now you're coming with the Saturn return. It's like things just start to make sense. You really are truly becoming an adult right now. So it's amazing timing that you got this reading now. Um, so yeah, there's just like a lot of resourcefulness that you have and like this deep, deep, deep pool of energy that you can kind of call on whenever needed. But like also there's a big temper that can come from that Mars Pluto. So that's what I'm saying about self-sabotage. It's like um you know it's really important, and with Jupiter in 12th house, that's literally spiritual protection, just so you know. It's amazing. um I have that too. What I would say though is that Mars in the 12th, yeah, like with Pluto, you got to watch out for like for blowing up. That's why I say when you have like a steady routine that you're relying on, and you don't have to be perfect at it. It's hard for us Earth people to be perfect. Like example, like I at the start of this year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna work out 2 out of every 3 days the whole year, right? But like when I made that promise, I told myself, okay, but even if I mess up, I'll be traveling and stuff. It's hard, right? I'm not gonna just like go for the perfectionism. And I've done that, like I have like until today, I think I didn't work out since Thursday, which is crazy. Today is Wednesday. That's no, not Thursday, that's impossible. Friday. No, hold on. Friday. Yeah, Friday I worked out. No, Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. No, because I only worked out twice since I've been here. I know this doesn't matter at all. I'm just like blown away. I got here, shit, maybe it was Thursday. Damn. But I've been walking like crazy every day, but sweating is so important for me, right? So it's like, even let's say I missed 6 or 5 days of not running. That's crazy for me, right? Um, but it's being able to get back on that and not have that perfectionist attitude, like, oh, I didn't accomplish. I've skipped out on my, every 2 days thing, or every day, 2 days on, 3 days, 1 day off thing. No, you shoot for the stars. What's the expression? Shoot for the sun, get the stars, whatever it is. So yeah. Anyways, Mars in 12th, the best way to access that is just to go in to your unconscious, your dream life, to your spirituality. But like what can happen is there can be really difficult time expressing anger, and Scorpio can bottle things up. You know how Scorpios are. Like they can get these resentments, and like it can be unconscious. And then in a fire sign Mars, it can just like come out with Pluto, especially when triggered. Boom. So shit. I think like maybe when the moon is at the very end of Scorpio, you should pay attention. Not today, as in Thursday. Would it be Friday, or would it be like Saturday morning early? I'm not sure, but you can search current planets on Google and just like it's the astro.com link, and just like look at like what sign the moon's in, and just like follow that and see like what it says. But um yeah, Mars in the 12th, I've seen like people with that like really self-sabotage and screw themselves over. There can be like a lot of inner restlessness. Um, so it can be like the house of like a lot of times, yeah, it's people who had their power pushed down early in childhood, and they can kind of be very unclear about their power, and their ability to assert themselves. So yeah, there can be lots of self-defeating patterns that kind of can come out of that. Um, So yeah. Good thing you have good energy for your boundaries in general. Um, uh, but yeah, I think that like reclaiming your body in the gym, like whatever it is, the gym, whatever, like that is such a massive spiritual component. Like there's a very big spiritual component to you and your relationship with your body, and kind of how you push yourself in that way, because it's like a psychosomatic thing, right? Um, but yeah, like it's very strong in Sagittarius, right? So, and it's with Pluto, so definitely very good for like your stamina, physical strength, vitality, all that. Um, and I think that in the 12th house, like it's in these kind of like hidden realms that you're able to devote a lot of energy. Um, so that's interesting, right? But it's a malefic in a 12th house. So it's like I talked about a lot of times people with that, like their parents kind of taught them to suppress their anger, or different feelings, because it's not acceptable. So people have to like learn sometimes, like in a good way, like through learning communication, which is your North Node of Libra, right? There you go, right there, like karmic goal, because your South Node's in Aries, so maybe anger was an issue for you, especially square Uranus. Maybe there's just like these flashes of anger, right? So learning to deal with anger in a very diplomatic Libra balanced way, where you're taking both sides, lots of consideration of all sides. Um, so yeah. But I would say also, like, 12th house is very much about service, right? So it's like Mars 12th house person can be someone who overcomes difficult karma by giving themselves to service, right? Um, and they like I said, they are learn how to stand up for yourself, so that's good. A lot of people with that don't, but um there could be different areas of life where it's difficult still, right? But like as you age, 12th house placements become easier. And I think that like there can be a difficulty when it comes to vision of what you really want and what your goals are. There can be like sort of this fog around that with people who have that. Um, where they can kind of, so it's like that's why that goes back to the importance of you doing that thing that's really true to your heart, like like where you don't feel like you're really working. Of course, everything you're gonna ever do, you feel like you're working, right? Like I was listening to someone on YouTube a few days ago talk about that, about like how you have a competitive advantage if you don't, if like what you do for work you would actually do for fun. Still, it is work, like nothing is like that. But if it's something that you literally enjoy and then the next person doesn't actually enjoy it, that's like why for me, not to talk about myself, why I know I'm gonna like have a lot of long-term success with astrology is because I'm never gonna stop unless I die, like that's the only way, right? I'm in it for the long haul. It's just a natural part of me. While I I'm not sure. I don't know if the same can be said about other people. I don't I don't want to say I'm never gonna stop. I don't know what life has for me, but like I love it so much that like I do like obviously this is work right now, right? Right now I'm loving it. I'm having so much fun. But for me to get into this mode was work. I had to work out, all these things, right? It's starting it is the hardest part. But like the point is that like, I would have a competitive advantage over it. I know certain astrologers who don't like doing readings. So yeah. So yeah, it just goes back to the physical body. Like a lot of people here, they have like, you know, like they just don't feel good in their body. But like I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is an example of someone. I think he has a 12th house Mars. So, you know, so like he's a good, by him be like he obviously became, which is interesting. You have Pluto there too. So you could really be someone who becomes like obsessed with things related to the physical body. Um Also Mars there, it's very, um it makes someone just like really, really lots of firepower and energy towards spirituality and having a spiritual life and stuff like, doing things related to that. So yeah. And someone who's, yeah, a champion of the underdog, right? Um, but they're just so super interested in understanding the collective unconscious, um, psychology, astrology, all these types of topics, right? Like they just want to know about it all. With all that Sag energy, it's just like, the student that becomes, the teacher eventually, right? That then becomes the philosopher. But with that, you need to allow yourself to have alone time. It's very important as a Scorpio, to get rid of the energies of other people, um, and recharge. As a Scorpio moon, you will recharge on your own in nearly every case. So yeah. Um, so yeah, you feel that your will is aligned with your higher self, and um, once you feel that what you're doing is aligned with your soul, that's when you find your purpose, right? And where you have that natural kind of that metaphor of the Ferrari, right? Where it's just like you can just let that thing go into auto drive, right? So cool. Pluto 12th is interesting because it's like I always think of it as like very, very spiritual in this lifetime. It's about letting go once again, spiritually letting go and allowing yourself to dive into the deep waters of Neptune, the collective unconscious, the connection of everything that is away from the materialistic Saturnian. So it's like really that metaphor of Saturn rock, jumping off the rock into Neptune water. So it's a very, very like it's like very much about like enlightenment, if you want to use that word, and just letting go. Um, so friendships definitely play a big role in your life. You can attract a lot of them. I think popularity is something that I just wouldn't really think that would be a problem. Um, Let me see here. So yeah, and I think there's also this real inquisitiveness, like look at the Scorpio and the Jupiter, like of like really seeking the meaning of life from deep within yourself, right? And when things get really dark with that Jupiter and Sag, be able to dig into this well of optimism and find like the glass half full, right? And you're such an adventurous person, so it is very beautiful to have Sagittarius Scorpio, right? It's like, but like then it's like, how do you feed both mouths, right? How do you feed that adventurous mouth? How do you feed that more Scorpio that's more introverted, all that. Let's see. Yeah, so like Sun conjunct North Node to me is like, it's like Sun opposite South Node. It's like you are not able to fully express your solar yourself in in past life that we're dealing with, right? So in this life, it's really about expressing yourself, right? So there will be events that come to you um that help you come to terms with your identity, right? Where you're able to like really express your fullest self, right? Your fullest individualized self. Um, so it's also a lot about expressing yourself and your true self through your profession. And with South Node where it is, it's likely in a past life that was held back. So it's like maybe like there's a message in past lives that was only heard by your immediate family surroundings. In this life, it's meant to be heard by a lot of people. So more about love. Juno is in 0 degrees Capricorn, so that kind of adds. It's similar to like the Scorpio, different but similar. Like it could be that you might like really like someone who maybe is older or more mature. Um, maybe like I said before, maybe it could be like marrying post Saturn return. But yeah, it's just like wanting someone that you can respect, that respects you, maybe who really loves what they do, who's successful, right? Not like in a gold digger way, but like who has that legitimacy in what they're doing, and that like and that they also can give you that long-term commitment, that they want to build like a very solid, a foundationally solid relationship. Um, and Juno first house, I think, could be someone who, yeah, who feels like they can maybe be themselves a bit better when they're in a relationship, but like I don't know. I think it's also like, I would say like someone who wants to have a relationship but wants to still keep their own energy, not just like completely blend in codependency. Um, okay. So yeah, basically Venus, or no, Chiron in Libra. This is just like how there's pain, karmic pain around relationships. And basically, especially early relationships, like if you suffer them, like I was saying before, a lot of times it's related to like a parent, in your case, the father, um, like different pain there. But overall, it's like you learn a lot through relationships, and like with the Black Lilith in the seventh, I would just make sure that if there was pain, like I was saying before, any shame that you have post Saturn return, let that shit go. That's all meant to be. um and don't kind of curl yourself up and not allow yourself to you know to expand, and to trust, because sometimes the Cancer energy, it's very, even Scorpio too, it's like very hard once they've been hurt to open themselves up again, right? So Saturn third, as I said, Saturn Pisces for the first 30 years, I wouldn't be surprised, I say this intuitively now, I don't really feel it, but like a lot of times Saturn Pisces people, for the first, like, until their Saturn return, it's like difficult for them to tap into spirituality, like or just like the divine in general. And because you have Neptune squaring your nodes, there could be some karmic fear there, or some karmic, like, like the whole like soul that's kind of like fallen. So maybe it's something that you found recently, but I'm not going to make that claim. Intuitively, I don't really feel like that's for sure the case. Um, but yeah, there's just like a lot of karma to be worked through in this lifetime. And the third house, I already kind of talked about how it's linked to like communication issues, or just like fear of expressing the self. So that's why writing is so good. And having Saturn there, maybe, yeah, I don't know if you've written a book yet, but your Saturn return, I wrote my book during my Saturn return. It's a great time to write a book. Um, and it's like it gives you this gradual ability to get better and better at communicating. and it's through hard efforts, but then you become someone. I always say the metaphor of like the athlete who isn't whose arms aren't naturally as strong as the other athlete. The other athlete's complacent, doesn't really work, and then the first athlete just like works their ass off, and they get, and then before they know it, they're stronger than the athlete that just had the natural, right? So it's like that's Saturn. It's forcing you to work in that area. Um, so yeah. And it squares Saturn. So sometimes people with that they can put themselves down too much and have like a difficulty like assessing their own talents. So it's really important not to compare yourself to other people. Um, and hmm, yeah, just really believe in your own abilities, you know? And not to like, like do things for yourself. Don't expect like when you're writing, for example, like don't do it for the views. Don't do it for the likes. Like I've been doing this thing lately, not really lately, but like I think about sometimes like I like let's say I write a post I think is really, really good. Like if in the sense that I think like if like it could like maybe change some people's lives or really help people, right? But let's say it gets like not that many likes compared to other posts. I've learned to love that. I've learned to be like, I love it, because the people who were meant to see that post, and then I get the messages and the comments. So it's like that's all that matters, the metaphysical. So it's like what matters more, right? Like a post that, and same thing with my book. It's called Pisces Live Nine Lives. Um, the people who are meant to read that have, and I haven't really pushed it that hard. So yeah, yeah. Um, okay. So yeah, I think relationships are something are yeah, like just being able to connect and network with people, and I think that you instinctually have this ability to think and feel the other person's side. Mercury and Pallas in Libra, so um yeah, that's really, really helpful for your chart, especially with that like Mars Pluto conjunction. I think that having the Mercury in Libra sometimes would maybe keep you away from those potential explosions. Um, so yeah, Neptune. So it'd be one. So yeah, they'd both be in the second, um, in whole sign. But yeah, anyways, basically what that means is that so Neptune, oh, it's in the first in Placidus. It in that position is very interesting. Sometimes it can make it hard for the person to like I almost don't want to look at this as a first house Neptune. I feel more of a second. Well, I guess what I would say is that because it's so far in the first house, people can sometimes project onto you. Um, and it can in either house, it can give like a foggy sense of self, right? So like confusion about the image. Um, Neptune is it's wherever house is where you tend to fool yourself, right? So um yeah, just making sure that you don't give in to other people's view of you, right? Also I keep getting this some like this hit about something related to your birth. I don't know if there's anything there. Um, any mystery or yeah, who knows? But yeah, very intuitive. I think the highest energy of that is someone who's able to take their dream life and then impose it into their everyday life, right? But the darker side is just getting lost in one's own illusions and imagination and escapism, moving away from reality in that sense, right? So, and even Mars in the 12th house, you got to watch out for substances there too. So, yeah, just having very like healthy escapes is good. But yeah, it's very good for art for like like artistic talent, being able to tap into that sea of imagination, that vivid imagination, um, just divine inspiration, all that, right? And being able to manifest it in the physical. So that makes sense with you as a writer. A lot of writers, musicians, singers, actors, all that stuff, um, will have something like that. And the 12th house too, the Mars and the Pluto, like that's that ability for you, especially when you're balanced. Remember, so like the main goal for you should be, like for me, this like if you're able to, I don't know your life circumstance, right? Let's say you have complete freedom in your life. The days should be spent, well, okay, I'm not gonna say this. I'm gonna give out the idea because I know everyone's made differently, right? But like if you're like me where a lot of artists like work at night, right? And I work during the day sometimes, right? Especially lately. But like a lot of times I use the day to kind of grow my energy. And then by night, yeah. But I don't know. It's different for everyone. So yeah, I just think that there's so much sensitivity. Yeah, you have to watch out for like yeah, it's also with boundaries too. Like I know you have like Scorpio helps a lot, but yeah, just like really making sure that you take care of your own mental health and create healthy emotional boundaries with people, especially like friends who like might try to abuse those, but the Scorpio, like I said, it helps a lot with that. Um, what else can I say about that? Yeah, also like potential for seeing people for over idealizing people, seeing them for better than they really are, seeing them for their potential as opposed to their where they're really at. So yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think like with second house, if we put it there, it's more around money and it can make it so it's like your values and your yeah, like so I think there it's just it usually some people with that they can have like a more like detached, like a more spiritual, like care less about money, more about um spirituality and kind of like the metaphysical side of things. Um Yeah. But then again, it is Capricorn second house. So it's like that is ruled by Saturn. That is a sign, a house of money. So I think what can happen there is that if people put too much of their eggs in the basket of material success, it can make it really, really difficult. So it's good to have a balance of the two. Um, but a lot of people with this are very charitable. Um, and a lot of times when it comes to their services, they undervalue themselves. So like let's say as an astrologer with this, they might like charge way less than they should, or Um, so and I think like it's just really important to take responsibility for your finances and find that right balance, right? Between what you're worth and yeah, what you're worth and what you're asking for. So I would say that there's lots of creative gifts here. So it's obviously really good for any creative field. Um, it can kind of be sometimes like the starving artist stereotype with Neptune the second. Um, yeah. So with money, the second house is showing us how about more about income. And with Capricorn, and then Saturn in the third, yeah, I could literally, that's beautiful. It can be through writing. Pisces, like writing, in a Piscean way, that income can come. Interesting, huh? Like mystical types of writing, or like, very like imaginative writing. That's very cool. I don't know if that's a style you have. And yeah, usually people with that, like, but there's Uranus too, right? So it's like, there's look at that. in the second house. But usually, yeah, you can make money in like Neptunian ways, like through art, um, spirituality, whatever. So some people like the low vibe of that is like people like drug dealers, people making money through drugs or stuff like that. Um, but some people with this, especially with Uranus, like they're very bad with saving money. Now I know your Venus is in Scorpio, which is more conservative, and it's trine Saturn, so that's so good for saving money. But just by itself, people with this, they need to like really, especially with Uranus, where it can just make the money in one pocket, in the pocket, out the pocket, right? So it's like it can be difficult to save with that. So just like learning about finances can help you a lot, like investing energy into that. And um, there's not really any challenging aspects to it, so it's not bad. And I guess I would say just watch out for like business people who are sketchy in the sense that maybe they're like covertly sketchy. Um, and just be like, for example, I have a rule now that if there's anything that costs over, I don't even know the number, let's just say it's like if anything costs over like $1,000, right, maybe even less than that, I'm not gonna buy it. Like, for example, I was at this jewelry store a few weeks ago and I was looking at this beautiful gold chain. It was amazing. It was expensive as fuck, right? I know in my head like this is the dumbest idea, right? And but I know it looked like I just look really. I'm sounding so Leo, but it's true. I love gold. I wear a gold necklace every day. I just left it at my mom's in San Francisco, and this thing looks so good on me. I would have worn it every single day of my life. But my rule is that I'm not going to buy anything the day of. If I really want it, I'll come back. And of course, I was correct. And as I left, I realized, that thing was awesome. It got out of my memory. And it's just that reality check. Like I'm not gonna go and spend that much money on this chain, this fucking chain, even though it holds a lot of its value. Yeah, no. So okay, this Uranus here, it just goes like a very erratic up and down relationship with money. Sometimes you'll receive a lot, sometimes there's less. So it's like being able to adapt to the times, where there's a surplus and save, um, and understand that that's kind of the karma, and that the whole point is that it's linking you to higher spiritual energy where you're not worrying so much about income and you're just trusting that it will come when it comes. And if you work hard, things will be good. A lot of people with this can be like very minimalist and they can see money as a way to acquire freedom, but also as something that takes away their freedom, right? So, yeah, it's another tendency is not to save, and it can be very impulsive spending. So yeah, it can also just make them like a second house with income. The income can come in a very like genius, like unconventional way, right? Maybe from technology, maybe from like a very inventive idea. So not a person who enjoys working like a 9 to 5 with this at all, usually. But you can make money on the internet, technology, science, right? Uranus rules a lot of things. And it is, yeah, so I'm in second. Yeah, and even in whole sign, it's 1, 2, 3, third house. Yeah, so it goes back to writing again, writing or communicating. Yeah. So unconventional way of earning money, as I said, being able to collaborate with like unique people. Um, and then yeah, so the second house is about our values, what's really important for us in life. So, it's like having a very unique value system. You're not just taking on someone else's. Um, so like having a value system where freedom is a big part of it is important. And a lot of times people with this, they're like, yeah, they like their job to give them freedom. So, yeah, yeah. Okay, so go away, mosquito. So, anyways, let's see anything else. No, 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 no. Yeah, just like I can keep talking about like that commitment to find the higher truths in life and just like the need to like, work well with other people, whether it's relationships or just work in general. Um, but it looks like I went over every single thing. And like yeah, like yeah, just like being able to like direct your energy wisely is very important. Like where are you putting your energy? You have 100 energy points each day, energy bandwidth, right? So it's like where are you directing those? But like really like it's like kind of like your destiny is linked with like the discovery of new and exciting thoughts, concepts, ideas, really pushing things forward, right? But like making sure that you're not like seeking like excitement at all costs, like that Sun square Neptune or Sun square Uranus. And also like with Neptune square nodes, just making sure that you're not living in a fantasy world. Surround yourself with positive people, positive experiences, positive environment, all that, only ingesting healthy foods, right? Um, I think drugs and alcohol is not a good idea. I mean, I'm not going to like tell anyone how to live their life. Like I indulge in them sometimes. Um, but it's all about balance and yourself, right? Some people they just can't do it, right? Some people it's sometimes like me, but and it's for special occasions. But others it's just like they just know. You know what I mean? I think that you're able to achieve a lot when you're just in that flow in life. But like, you um, like I don't know, everyone's different. For me, I need the party. Like I just need my to go to like an electronic music party. Um, you know, like even if I go sober, right? Like just I need to go once in a while, but this year a lot more. Um, because it just I don't know, it just resets me in a way. It gets me out of like like if I'm just doing the same thing over and over, it can be very it just yeah, it can get kind of boring for me. So we're all different in that sense, right? Um, so you'll know the answer there. But really it's about yeah, putting your intuition and all your kind of your talents into something, whether it's artistic, spiritual, healing, charitable, whatever, something that's really, really helping. And that's what's going to boost everything in your chart. All right. Well, it has been a pleasure. So let me know. Okay. So just some quick things real fast. So you don't have a follow up. I would be happy to do it for one. So it's an hour. So I'd be happy to do it for 110. I'll write that down. It's less than the cost. Um, so I'll offer you that offered follow up for 110. I'll write down, which is just the hour, right? Where we're talking only about natal. This is the chart that never changes. Or if you want to do what most people do and add current astrology, where we'll have that 3 hour session, hour one, as I said, follow up, and then usually it's like hour two and three. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. Um, your current, I'd be happy to do it all for a total um of 360. That's actually like one of the lowest I've offered in a really long time. But yeah, Usually it's like 3 something for just the current. So 360, yeah. I'll be willing to offer 360, or I'm gonna start telling people this. I'll offer 360 because I know people are in different situations. I think I need to start telling people like, that's the price I'll offer you. And if you feel like, paying full price, like if your situation isn't difficult, then do that. Um, I think that I just had that idea. It's kind of a good idea. I'll give like kind of like the minimum amount. So I highly, highly, highly suggest that. But you let me know. So that's for current and follow. And we can set that up very, very soon. Um, if you do one of those, like, definitely take notes for this. And yeah, definitely take notes for this. And maybe like I always tell people like the first time you watch it, you know, just let it sink in. And like the most important thing when I have a session is I don't want someone coming, I don't want to do the reading twice, right? And I need to be a lot more clear with that that's not what this is about, right? So, and I made that mistake with people, um, where I guess I wasn't clear enough, and we have our our follow up, and yeah. So what else? What else? What else? What else? So just yeah, in terms of what I like, everything's on my website of what I offer, astrocartography. I think like I've actually discovered a new a new way of doing it that no one else does, to my knowledge. So if that's something you're interested in, you can let me know. Um, Compatibility, readings, whether usually it's romantic, but I can do any people. I do family readings. Those are crazy. I just started doing chart rectifications, which is for people that don't know their birth time. I did my first one, didn't even know I could do it, and it was amazing. So that was really fun. So yeah, I do a lot. I do more than that too. Hold on one second. Um, Astrological counseling, but yeah, that's not really here nor there. And finally, I teach astrology one-on-one classes for now. Um, and I have packages for that and pay as you go. I just introduced the pay as you go. So yeah, just I don't really ever talk about these things. But yeah, I would say what most people do is they get this reading and then they do the follow up in current astrology, and it's just an amazing experience. It's not just me saying this. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not saying this is going to happen, that's going to happen. I'm saying I'm giving you an idea of the energetic weather, right? What to expect, and we look at the past a little bit too, like wherever it needs to go. It becomes like a very healing session. I mean, I actually become friends, like I have really, really amazing sessions like that. So you'll know intuitively if that's, what you want to do. And yeah, thank you so much. Ciao.